The main reason is they're not educated about different groups of people who come from culturally different geographic places. And so the human impulse is to right away make up a story or try to understand without either asking or reading or simply becoming educated about another group. And so when you're not educated, also fear is connected to that. And so then the stereotype then will become, one of fear, where they're afraid of that group because they have made up this story about that one group. Well, it's hard because there isn't just one, because obviously there are many groups in our society. But right now, what's in the media, for instance, I'm Mexican American. And so in my group, and I'm very carefully saying group because even within that Mexican American group, there's a lot of variations. But we're usually lumped into being, what they call illegal, but the correct term is when you're either documented or you are not documented, meaning you don't have documentation of being a citizen here. But some people feel that because of the way a person looks, they will not be documented citizens. And so there are racial slurs like wetback, or as I said earlier, illegal, things like that. And so people suffer because of that. Do you want me to go on about other groups? Or because with African Americans, usually there's fear that African Americans are violent or in a gang, but then they think that of certain Mexican American groups as well. Asians, they think they only eat with chopsticks, or they're very, very smart, and they are usually owners of liquor stores. And these are stereotypes that are unfounded, but that then perpetuate through gossip. And white people as well. Some people may think of white people as the Aryan nation, or that they're dangerous, or that they hate any other group of people. So these are all stereotypes, that occur. And of course, Native Americans, people think that Native Americans are all alcoholics, or they all live on the reservation, or that there are no Native Americans anymore. Yeah. Well, a person who racially stereotypes, they don't allow themselves to really experience the richness of their brothers and sisters, and get to know how other people live their lives and benefit from learning about the rich variations of people's cultures, their art, their music, their food, their ways of thinking. And it's just such a beautiful mosaic of the world that they're shutting out. Mm-hmm. Oh, sure. Yeah. And the way I teach about that, the students here in Nebraska, they can relate to certain things. For instance, when I ask students who were born and raised in Nebraska, especially the Anglo students who were born and raised more in western Nebraska, I ask them if they have been victims of stereotypes, and they say yes, that when they've left Nebraska, they've gotten comments like, oh, do you live in a shed, and is your bathroom an outhouse? Because people outside of Nebraska have this idea of Nebraskans here that seem to me like you know, a kind of time pre-19th century or 19th century, that kind of idea or stereotype. And so when I begin teaching the students about what they know, then they're able to then broaden their view and see how, well, people think that about me. I can see now how people would think, you know, that of other things of other people. And then we begin educating each other. Yeah. Education. And that's why I'm an educator, because I think it's so important to really look at statistics and to really, what a stereotype is based on is based on a logical fallacy. And so it's important to teach logical fallacies. What is a logical fallacy, and how to break down a logical fallacy. A logical fallacy could be like a hasty generalization. That's an example of a logical fallacy. A hasty generalization would be, I saw a, you know, quote, I saw a black guy on the news get arrested for robbing a bank, so all black men rob banks. That's a hasty generalization. And so then if I show them statistics of, let's say, well, I shouldn't say bank robbery, let's look at serial killers, okay? People who murder. People think right away, or they might think a certain group always murders. But if we look at, okay, let's look at the statistics, we find that serial murderers actually are men under the age of 30 when they begin their serial murder spree. And so it's fascinating to look at the real statistics and to see, okay, who, you know, who is really undocumented, or, you know, the one stereotype is that undocumented workers are taking away our jobs. And the statistics show that no, that is not true. And when you take away all those people who are working the fields, who are always with their backs bent for 12 hours a day, you'll notice that when people are taken away, it's hard to fill those jobs because people don't want those jobs.